Hello everybody, Reggie Time here, and for the first time in, crikey knows how long, 2 years, 3 years maybe even, we're going to be looking at some snap tables, and this isn't because I've moved into these games because I want to play them. I'm still the passionate bum hunter I've always been and shall remain that way, but I have been playing these games for the last 6 days now because after playing for so long in app clubs, my game had got in pretty rough shape, just all over the place. I had no real go-to default strategies. I was, my game was just messed up. I was making money because the app games are just so damn soft, and I was like learning lots of different games against like some terrible players, but my actual No Limit Hold'em game had gone rottenly bad, like really bad. I'm now not involved with the apps anymore because after this week, Cheltenham week this week, so this week is like my week up, it's like my Christmas. But as of next week, I'm going to be working almost full time, mostly through the daytime. So I'm going to most of my poker time is going to be dedicated to the evenings, which wasn't great for the clubs I was in. I was dealing with Asian clubs and American clubs, playing from like 6 p.m. to midnight UK time, which is going to be my kind of the time I'm going to have free to play poker. Wasn't really fitting in with the app, so I passed all my business on to the agent. He's still doing it. If you still want to play in those games, get in touch with me and I'll put you down in touch with the agent. But I'm no longer involved in them, and I'm very much back to just playing kind of recreationally on mainstream sites, trying to make a bit of a few pennies on the side. And I have a like longer term goal of possibly doing some coaching again. I've been doing some work recently with a gentleman who approached me. I wasn't keen to do it because I didn't think I was good enough to take money from people, but he kind of pressed me into it. I was like, right, okay, on your head be it then. And he's doing really well. He's been enjoying it. And I've also done some sessions with some Sky Boys who play tournaments, just to get my hand back in, really. And they seem to be enjoying the conversation. And just to give some context, one of the gentlemen, he goes by the name of Mystical on Sky. He final tabled and finished fourth, I think it was, in the Sky mini main event on Friday night, which is like the biggest mini of the week on there. I think he had his biggest ever score following some chats with me, and now he obviously played all the hands, but he was kind enough to say that the stuff we talked about helped. So I kind of know I can still be a help to beginner players and losing players, but it's not enough just to say, right, I can be a help to you. Come out and give me your money. And I'm not asking people to do that just yet. This is me playing these 10-0 snap games to prove myself to me that over a sample size of 50,000 to 100,000 hands, that I'm still good enough to beat these games and still good enough to pass on some handy tips and hints to players who aren't beating these particular games. And on top of that, as a good bonus of me is if I get good enough, and I think I already am, but if I'm proven good enough to beat these games long term, these games are significantly tougher still, even though they're not tough, significantly tougher than the Sky 20 and 30 and L games. So that'll give me confidence that I can go back and start making a side income playing Sky Cash games in the evenings. So I haven't got any goals as such. Long term goal would be produce a sample that's good enough to give me confidence to reach out to people who might want some help with their game. And then the shorter term goal is get my game in such a shape that I can go back and comfortably make money on Sky on on a monthly basis. I think I'm probably already there, but it's nice to like have some stats to go and pour over, find any leaks that may have popped in and plug them before we play back on a site like Sky where you can't track your play and you can't really be sure the things you're doing are working well or not so well. We'll look at my database at the end of the video, show you how it's gone so far. Spoiler alert, it's gone pretty fucking well. But we'll probably let's play up to, we'll go from 108 hands here to 400 hands. It's probably going to take us about 50 minutes to do that. And then we'll round the video off with with a look at my results to date. Any hands that I play here that I don't explain very well that you would like me to go back and look at, if you timestamp the video in the comments and say, "Oh, at 5 minutes 20 seconds, you called a check raise with ace jack against a regular," and you didn't explain it very well, then I'll do it. If you don't timestamp it, I'm not going to look back. If someone just says, you know, you played 10-10 like a moron and doesn't tell me what time of the video I played 10-10 like a moron, then I'm just going to be like, "Oh, did I? Fine." And I'm not going to address the comment. Here we're just going to call. Lots and lots of draws have missed. He could have been like check raising some flush draws. He could also have been check raising king queen, which does get there, but I mean, we're just not going to fold top two here. He did have exactly king queen of spades. Nice draw, sir. Nice draw and nice hand. I don't hate his line there. He has a nice check raise on the flop with his equity. There's an easy check call on the turn if I bet again. Because once I call, obviously I have something. And given he has spades, it's more likely I have a pair than a drop. So I like his decision to just not try and bluff the turn. And then obviously I like his bet on the river when he can represent my spade draws as well as having the nuts. I think it was a well played hand by both of us. He just got the better of it this time, which is, you know, it's just the way it's going to be sometimes. Here we're going to be check raising versus someone who usually plays shorter stack than this, hence the blue tag. So it would be nice to cooler the shit out of a short stacker when he's deep, because nothing's changed in my views of short stackers down the years. They are still the absolute scum of the poker world. We're going to try and slow roll him here. This could go wrong because he might already have us beat with 3-7s. He might have 6-5, seems unlikely. He might have a very strong draw that gets there, but fuck him, he's a short stacker. We're going to waste our time bank slow rolling the cunt. Fuck you, Ritter, and fuck your children. Well, no, that's... No. Fuck you and fuck your life. That's a diabolical thing to say. That makes me sound very, very, very Gary Glitter. And for that comment alone, and the fact I'm doing a slow roll, I deserve to lose this hand. I very much deserve to lose this hand. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We call. Oh, yes, we had him crushed. No 9. Boom. Eat that, you fucking useless short stacking cunt bubble. Fuck you. We like it. We like it. We like it a lot. That one's clip worthy. If it wasn't for the fact that I used some inappropriate language. What a terrible shove by him, by the way. That's probably why he plays the short stack, because he has no idea how to play a deeper stack. That was a pretty terrible shove, in my opinion. Why did I not see bet there? Why was I autopiloting? Gonna call down here if no more green ones come, I think. The problem is with calling down is people play monotone boards pretty down. Well, there's a school of players who play them very, very passively, and then there's another school of players who will just, like, if they have a big club, they will just go bet. Usually, I think, generally people tend to play monotone boards pretty passively. Yeah, he played his hand fine. There, I think. Excuse me. I don't know how many videos I'm going to be doing a week. Probably not many at the moment. I don't think I haven't got that much to say at the minute, but I'll commit to doing at least one live play video a week, and anytime I can twist someone's arm to do a review video with me, I'll try and do that too. But we're not going to be smashing videos out galore just yet. Although later in the year, if I do like execute on my plan to do some coaching again, we'll be doing a lot more spam videos. But for the time being, I'm just making the videos mostly to just like keep the channel going, and because I just enjoy doing it. I enjoy slow rolling Belarusian fucking short stacking nits, you know, and I think sometimes other guys enjoy watching that shit too. So, well, there'll be a video, at least one video a week, possibly two. Who knows? Which is something I've started doing lately too, is making my 3-bets much larger than I used to. I think most of the time we're wanting folds pre-flop with our 3-bets, and I think a lot of the modern sizes just don't get folds very often, and we'll talk about this more in a moment. Just gonna jam it in now against Fisher. If he has his beat, then good for him. If he doesn't have his beat, and we drag another pot down. Yeah, something I don't like about that, when you see me min racing a lot, and then you see my opponents, they're making it like anything from 6x to 8x against me most of the time. And I'm just not really sure. I mean, I don't like these small 3-bet sizes. Like, it's just with 3x's, a lot of people would just go to 9x. I don't like them. Most of the time when we're 3-betting pre-flop, we want folds. And I don't think a lot of the sizes that people use get folds, although I just folded there to just a 4x to 8 big blinds. And then to me, it leaves a lot of like relatively tricky situations post-flop. On top of that, we're playing in games where people aren't opening super wide. The average stats seem to be like 25, 18. But there's a lot of players in this pool that aren't opening as wide as that. And you don't really want to be 3-betting super wide versus relatively narrow ranges, because people just don't fold often enough. So if we're not going to be 3-betting super wide, then we're going to be 3-betting kind of a pretty narrow, polarized range, then I think we can go larger with our sizes. And that's certainly my strategy anyway. I think my overall 3-bet during this comeback so far percentage is that it's less than 6%. So if I'm 3-betting less than 6%, it's not going to be too difficult for any opponents with a HUD running like I've got to know that about me, and just like know what I'm up to anyway. So I'm not going to be disguising. I'm not going to be able to disguise the strength of my range that well by making it smaller, because I'm not doing it with a higher frequency. If it was 3-betting at a higher frequency, maybe I'd want to use a smaller sizing. But because I'm 3-betting at a lower frequency, I'm just going to use a larger sizing, and then still be happy when you fold. A lot of people, when they get ace king, they want to 3-bet and get action. I don't. When I'm 3-betting with ace king, when I'm 3-betting with ace queen, if I'm 3-betting with pocket jacks, I'm not asked if a fold comes. But if people call and give me action, fine, good. We have a good hand. I don't mind the action, but I don't mind the folds either. I only truly want action when I've got like pocket aces and pocket kings. That's when I'm really looking for action. So now I'm pretty much on board with making 3-bets much larger than your average bear, and to be honest, it appears to be doing me more good than harm from what I've seen in my results so far. I'm not normally playing 17-13, by the way. I think there's two things going on here. Number one, we're not getting a particularly good card distribution, and number two, I'm probably autopilot folding some hands that I would otherwise be opening. My stats over this so far have been around 21-16, I want to say, something like that. So 16-13 is not typical, but it can happen over small samples. We are definitely going to squeeze it up here. And we're not going to be shy about our sizing again. We're going to go to 13 bigs. It's already 5.5 in the pot. And we take it down, and we're happy to. So I am still, in a lot of people's eyes, the nit I always was. But it doesn't feel like it's taken me an awful long time to get back on the horse and playing pretty well by my own standards. Maybe not by your standards or by other people's standards, but by my standards, it feels like I got back on the horse pretty damn quickly, and I'm really quite pleased with how quickly my games got to a level that I can be both happy with and confident in. 21-13, knitting the big blind. He's open from middle position. They make a tight fold. A lot of you guys would be cringing at that fold I've just made with the king queen from the small blind versus middle position, but the guy is a pretty tight player, pretty straightforward. King queen is ahead of some of his stupid opening middle position, but we're going to be out of position to a player that isn't going to be, particularly aggressive post flop. So we're not going to be able to set too many traps for him, which is kind of what you want to be doing when you're calling raises out of position. You usually want anyone to flop top pairs and try and, catch people firing a couple of barrels or whatever. Because it's hard to get value when you're out of position. It's hard, especially with a hand like king queen. It's hard to flop a hand strong enough you're going to want to check raise very often. So then you're going to rely on using it more often than not as like a bluff catcher when you make a top pair, maybe value betting a river if a street gets checked. I mean, it's not a super exciting situation versus a player who's playing like 25-13 or whatever it was he was playing. Sure many of you guys will disagree with that, but it's kind of been how I've approached those sort of spots for a very long time, and my results in the blinds ever since I've had tracking software have been as good or better than 99% of the field, and that's despite my not having a particularly aggressive strategy from the blinds. I was having this conversation with someone in Discord only yesterday who suggested I should be 3-betting a particular hand from the blinds. I was like, well, I've never done that. And we had cause to discuss my my big blind strategy from the blinds. And it reminded me of just how fucking good my results have been from the blinds for as long as I can remember. So yeah. I don't necessarily. I know that lots of people you have to 3-bet aggressive from the small blind. I'm not arguing with that as a theory. I think it's a good theory if that's how you want to approach the game. What I am saying is in these games, you don't fucking have to do it. If that's the strategy you want to have, then have that strategy, no problem with it. But you don't have to do it. There are other ways in the micro stakes from the small blind. We're going to call once here, probably not call the turn. We're going to bomb this turn here and fold to a raise, checking back most rivers, I think. He does min raise. This is an absolutely disgusting spot now because that's just not a good board for us. Big blind connects with that in so many ways. Oh, wow. Easy call here with the draw. Probably going to, don't know about the river. It depends on his size. The smaller he bets, the more likely he is we'll call. Going to call here and just fold rivers. Just hope he's check raising who knows what. This might slow him down, the 8. Checking back here, hoping to win, expecting to lose. We do win. He bets again. It's nothing we can do here. It's just a fold. I wanted to fold the turn. I wish he'd raised bigger on the turn so we could just fold. But you fold top pair good kicker to a turn check min raise on video. And you need some pretty fucking thick skin. I just wanted to fold the turn there. There was just so few bluffs. So few bluffs in his range, and he's going to bomb the river like we knew he was going to. When people check min raise turns, they don't check rivers very often. So you know the bigger bet's coming on the river that I didn't want to call. But, yeah. There's probably no folding, just in case you hit a king and then you can sometimes call rivers and beat some of his 2 pairs or Maybe you hit trips sometimes. Yeah, it was a nasty spot. This could be a cold 4-bet for some people. Not for me though. So we're playing very nitty. Hopefully we can get these stats up to like 2015 in the next few thousand hands. Versus a 4x under the gun with the passive player in the big blind. Oh, we're certainly not 3-betting versus that. We're not 3-betting versus an unknown 4x under the gun with ace jack suited. And I think we're just folding now. Another 4x under the gun. So as you can see, as far as speed, I mean, and this is like only 11:25 in the AM on a Monday morning, so that you're not expecting to find good games in speed poker games at this time. But there are some losing players kicking around, and the regs that are in the games, I mean, they're decent enough statistically. You know, no complaints with the statistics. But I've seen enough stuff from enough of these regulars to get the impression that their pre-flop game is significantly better than their post-flop game. And I've said this for many, many, many a moon. So many regulars at the micro stakes, when they have a chart telling them what to do pre-flop, they're capable of playing pretty well. But then when it comes to playing the ranges post-flop that the chart makes them play pre-flop, the wheels in many cases tend to come off, and you see there's like so many confident players pre-flop, and then you see like lines taken post-flop that you just know means this player just doesn't have confidence in their post-flop game. They're good when they have a chart telling them what they need to be doing. But when the charts stop being a thing, like post-flop, there's no post-flop charts as such. And there's just like so many more different things that you could and should be doing. But that you've got to think for yourself, or you've got to learn lots of different strategies for different board textures, different opponent types, etc. When there isn't just a, yeah, do this because this is your hand. Lots of players seem like either they don't want to learn that shit, or they just can't learn that shit. And that's probably why you see so many players with relatively good stats still playing 10-0. Because they just, whenever they try and move up, they just get annihilated by players who've done more post-flop work than them. This guy being such a nit under the gun. We're going to let that go. This guy doesn't see a better board that should be quite favourable to him. So we're going to kick it off with this. I mean, he might just be checking a lot of his range here, but that's, to me, seems like a board that he's going to want to bet with the pretty high frequency. Queen 10 deuce dry. He does check call, which makes me think he's got stuff like maybe some 10x, ace king, ace jack, under pairs. Then we're going to just triple off here, I think. And if he is trapping us with like, you know, like a queen x or an overpair of some description, then, or a 10x, then good for him. But it seems like a good spot to just go 3 barrels here, because it doesn't seem like you can have too many really strong hands on this board. But he very easily could be trapping us here. Very easily could be trapping us. Or just playing passively with like a king-queen type hand. Yeah, he was trapping us. Good for him. I don't mean his line worked well in that exact spot, so it's hard to be salty about it. But I don't think Queen 10-3 Rainbow is the type of hand you'd want to, be checking too often as like the pre-flop raiser. Especially against someone like me who generally, fair enough, I sailed off them with a bluff. But especially against someone like me who typically isn't going to be like bluffing too often there because I am quite nitty. Just going to go with the jam here, try and represent the missed clubs. He folds. I mean, if he has a 5, he's never folding. If he has the case queen, maybe he doesn't fold. Yeah, so I don't hate my turning my 3s into a bluff there because, I mean, he can certainly. But I guess the problem is the type of hand I'm trying to make him fold. We got showdown value again. So I think maybe actually, in hindsight, I think we'll go back and look at that one at the end of the video because I think there's been a disconnect in my logic from the turn to the river. And turn the king queen into a bluff here. Pre-flop. Defend the 7-8 suited here. This is a small 3-bet. Yeah, them 3s. Maybe we won't much at the end. I guess what I'm trying to say is on the turn, I'm betting to like try and just like fold out like his ace kings, his ace jacks, etc. that can't call, or maybe like his under pairs, and then he calls a turn. On the river, we don't need to make ace jack, ace king, etc. fold anymore. So I guess then we're just trying to make him fold out pairs between like my 3s, so like 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, whatever weren't sets. He's unimproved under pairs to the 10, and I guess there aren't that many of them. Not enough to justify bluffing anyway. Or I could be wrong. It's hard to know when you're doing it in live play. Do we want a 3-bet here against someone who looks like they might be a maniac? No, I think we'll just call. And many, many, many of you guys will think that of that call. I'm fully aware of that. And you can call me all the names under the sun. It's my way of doing things. And, lots of you won't like it. I understand that. And I appreciate that. But 3-betting versus fishes 4x's is not my cup of tea. With a hand that we can just play reasonably well post-flop against him, even out of position. What did he have? 9-5. Nice hand, sir. Nice hand. This kind of flopper can go either way on. Jack high, I probably see bet for certain. 10 high. I'm less inclined to, especially with like 2 low cards, which you can like connect quite well with the big blinds range. And we're going to face quite a few check raises on that board. And pocket 4s, can't call them. Although having like pocket 4s under spade, I guess, somewhat reduces the amount of check raises we're going to face. Does block a reasonable amount of the types of cards that are going to want to check raise us. It's going to take my showdown value though, and he didn't bluff at any point with Jack Queen, which I think he probably should once the king on the turn hits, so he improves to like a reasonable draw, and we've checked back the flop. I think he's got not a mandatory turn probe, but I think he's definitely got a turn probe, and then he can decide on rivers, I guess. I think if he goes bet there, then he just wins the pot all the time. Not had many good. I mean, I don't like playing 17-14. I don't mind playing tight. You know me. Fuck me. I'm a tight player. That's no surprise. But I ain't 17-13 tight. We just have like not been dealt particularly nice selection of cards, and the games aren't good enough at this time in the morning to, in my opinion, open wider and just play like wider ranges, weaker ranges against pretty tight players who are just going to like always show you the best hand. That's a loose open. I shouldn't have done that. That is not in the Reggie handbook. Punish me, someone. 3-bet me and punish me for my misdemeanor. I mean, small sample size, but this guy looks like he's potentially a maniac in the making, so we're going to try and get heads up against him. C-bet bigger here because we're C-betting multi-way, so we're going to have less bluffs in our range. Just easy call now. We're up against the 8-7, and we hold, and we got the bluff through against the potential maniac. Fishing the big blind, so we'll make another loose open. Just try and get that V-pip up a little bit. Continue betting turns here if we improve our equity. Just get it in now and be behind with the ace-king. Okay. Be in front with the ace-king. That's fine by me. That's just fine by this old nit. I'll let this guy come in the pot here. Good board for us to c-bet heads up. Won't be c-betting this board multi-way, especially with the fish in the pot. Crikey, I'm windy this morning. That's 3 farts that are probably going to be audible on video already, but I couldn't give a fuck. Probably going to have to check call this turn now. We pick up on flush draw. Trying to get our 8s to show down and lose, I guess, here. I'm definitely going to lose now. Pay this guy off because he's just kept the pot small enough where we're allowed to pay him off, and here's a 7-9, nice answer. I know what you're going to say. If you 3-bet that hand pre-flop and then c-bet the flop, he's not going to be there with his 7-9 at the end. I hear you, and I don't give a fuck. What is this? Let's just double up a massive nit. That's what we're going to do here. No, we're not. We're going to hit our set. How delightful. I butchered this hand. I should have c-bet the flop. Didn't do it. Now we're just going to pay his ace off. Or his better king. Lost a little bit of focus in the last couple of minutes, which is a shame. Because that was a mandatory c-bet. I mean, as it happens, he wouldn't have folded and we still would have lost. But still want to play well, or play as well as I can play. Which I haven't the last few minutes, but never mind. Still winning. That's all that counts, right? Well, of course it isn't, but we'll live with it. I think there's a chance we'll beat here, but we clearly can't fold on this turn. I mean, there's no reason why he should check an ace back on that flop. I mean, you would imagine most good players had c-bet in that flop with range, but you see so many players who don't, and then just like delay c-bet with their top pairs. So we are going to pay off there a little bit too often sometimes, but he's checking back Queen 8 there. If you're opening Queen 8 under the gun and then you're not c-betting that flop, you probably shouldn't be opening that hand under the gun. I'm going to raise here just because it's our board, not his, and he's min-donked. If he calls, then we're just done with it. But he folds. I see people donking small on boards that, favour my range. I'm going to be getting a little bit out of line. A lot of people struggle facing with donk bets. I think we can raise donk bets with a decent frequency, but I think on board textures that don't favour your range, I think it's a bad time to do it. And on board textures that do favour your range, even when you have nothing, I think it's a better time to do it. So if people are donk betting, you kind of want to be racing them on boards that favour your range, not necessarily just like boards that favour your hand. No set, no bet. It's two pretty tight players pre-flop. Trivially easy c-bet here with the king and the jack. I'm going to check call this river, given how it's gone down. Don't love it. Don't love the fact he's betting to two players. Doesn't look as any particularly active players bet this guy, but he's a fish. The rest of the guys are pretty passive, so I don't think we're going to get 3-bet too often, so I almost never call, and look, we do get 3-bet. Now we're going to fold. I didn't think we were going to get 3-bet often there, so I made a call where in a spot where we shouldn't really be having too much of a wide calling range from middle position versus under the gun, but we did it because we thought we'd get away with it, and we didn't. Here we're going to call and pay him off. Okay, we're not. I just thought there when someone like snap bets into two players on a river, I'm not going to have too many bluffs, but he clearly did. Not going to set mine here because this guy might be a little bit too aggressive to let us get away with it. And we ate 3-bet in 171 with pocket deuces. So we're about done, aren't we? We're getting close to 400 hands, so we'll sit out next big blind or cash games. And then we'll have a quick delve into our database. And we got up to around 1915 at the end, which isn't that far removed from 1730. Just looks a little bit better, doesn't it? I'm not going to quite make the 400 hands either, but again, close enough. It's close enough. So there we go. That's the end of the playing part. Here's how I've been doing so far. Let's try and make this as big as we can. So we don't want to start with that one. So we'll start with the sessions. We played 1,426 minutes, which in real money is 1426 divided by 60. This is since last Tuesday. This is 6 days of play. So we've been playing. We've been putting the volume in, to be fair. Divide that by 6. We've been putting 4 hours a day in, which is pretty good for me in games that I don't necessarily hugely enjoy. You see my results have been pretty damn good. If we look at, it's all been the same stake, 11,000 hands. We've been winning at 15.95 bigs 100. REV is actually 22 bigs 100, so we've been going pretty well. As you can see, like I said, 21.16, 20.516. It's kind of just my stats have come out of that for the longest time. I just know my ranges. I just know what I'm playing from which positions, and it always comes out with this over a decent enough sample. That's why when I saw the 1730, I'm like, fine. All that means is in this particular session, we haven't been getting dealt at the top of our range, or we haven't been getting dealt the cards we open for various positions. It isn't that I've been playing especially nitty, more nitty than usual. It's just card distribution over a small sample, isn't it? So that's how that looks. The graph, well, it's sexy, isn't it? It's always going to be sexy when, look how far below EV we are. It's fucking, take that EV line off, it's still a very sexy graph so far, albeit over a very, very small sample size. This session here came directly after the Duesenberg video last week. It was this one where, as you can see, I played slightly more aggressively, 21-17, which isn't that much more aggressive, but we 3-bet, a lot more than I sometimes will. So you can see my average 3-bet's about 5. This was like 6.5, so it makes a bit of a difference. And I was definitely trying to be more aggressive. I'd listened to what Duesenberg said about, we need to find some more 3-bets from the blinds, etc. And again, that's not denigrating his advice, because he's a good player, and what he's saying makes sense. It just isn't my style, not something I'm comfortable with, and my post-flop game isn't set up to play that. My post-flop game's kind of set up to play, to like marry up with the pre-flop style I have, and on top of that, we just didn't get to showdown as often as usual, and when we did, we got crushed. And that's probably an interesting thing to look at. Most of the losing sessions come when we don't win at showdown. That's just what microstakes poker is. We've only had 3 losing sessions. Yeah, we have 3 losing sessions so far out of who knows how many sessions, and all 3 of them have come when showdown just hasn't been particularly kind to us. And that's just the way it works. And obviously, lots and lots of green when we're doing well at showdown. Going back to the graph, we'll look at the red line, because people like that sort of stuff too. That's not bad, I don't think. We're losing at 10 bigs 100. And if anyone watched the Duesenberg video last week, I said if my red line is just losing at 10 bigs 100, that's very, very standard for me. And it's indicative that I'm playing well by my own standards. If that's down at like 15 or 20 big blinds 100, then something's going wrong. I'm being too passive and giving up and allowing people to push me around too much or whatever. While that's at that number, for me, that's perfect. I have no issue with that. I know a lot of you guys are red line warriors. It's not my style, really. I'm more of a blue line guy. Always have been, always will be. So yeah, things are looking pretty damn nice there. I'm a fan of it. Position, where's the bucket? There we are. This is like results from the blind. Again, these are over a really small sample, so they don't mean much yet. But my small blind win rate, -11 bigs, that is, if that was to be extrapolated over a 10 times bigger sample, I'd be fucking over the moon with that. I'd be much less pleased with this. When I was coaching people, I used to be not too concerned. If people's small blind win rate was -20 and the big blind win, and big blind win was -40, I was like, well, there's some work we can do there, but it's not disastrous. Mine typically used to come out at like -15, -16, -30, -32, something like that. So this is performing better than I would expect at the moment, the small blind, over a small sample. My big blind's performing worse than I would expect. And we shouldn't be losing from under the gun, but we are. But again, it's a very small sample size. And there was one, this pot basically was mostly responsible for that not being a winner. Made a loose open under the gun. I don't normally open these hands under the gun. And I did. And then we got like max punished in a super deep pot. I wonder if we can quickly pull that up. Problem is, it's going to go full screen, isn't it? And it's going to get messy. Yeah, it is. So excuse the mess on the HUD stats. We had 8-7. We raised. We called a small 3-bet from a regular, which all things going to suddenly things are going pretty badly wrong. We flop a pair and a flush draw. He bets. We raise. He calls. I check. He goes all in. We have to call it off, of course, and he gets there on the river, and he actually had the better flush draw. So, yeah, whatever. Punish. I mean, I think I played the hand well there. I think that the check raise flop's fine. When he calls, then checking the turns, probably okay. When he bets, then it's close. It's not a good hand. I'm not proud of it. Don't think he did anything massively wrong apart from don't open it fucking pre-flop. Probably don't call the 3-bet, even though it was tiny. Yeah. Just gets messed up, doesn't it? Things just get messed up. But yeah, it is what it is. We lost a big pot there, but as you can see, overall, as we curl out the fourth fart of the fucking video, overall, couldn't be more happy with how it's going. This win rate is clearly unsustainable. And this isn't going to be a win rate at the end, 15.9. 21, 22 certainly isn't going to be. But I do believe if I play my best most of the time, then perhaps something between 8 and 10 big blinds, 100 over a large sample is going to be good enough. And if I can say get this to 75,000 plus hands, and my win rate is looking anywhere near 7.5 big blinds, 100 plus, I think then I'm entitled to say, look, I'm an experienced coach, I'm an experienced player, and I am in a position then to, in my opinion, say, if you guys are losing at the micro stakes cash, then I'm as good an option as I was 3 or 4 years ago to help you. But I have a long way to go on that because the sample size isn't anywhere near good enough. It feels like I'm playing well. It feels like my game is in really good shape at the moment. But we need to bear that over result. People need results. I mean, it's no good saying, I was really good in 2014. I can coach you now. That's not right. We need to prove that I'm beating the games in 2021 that I intend to try and help people in. So that's a work in progress for me. This is probably going to be my morning. The days that I'm not working, probably just put some sessions in the morning on 888 Snap to build this sample size and to keep my game in reasonable shape. And in the evenings, it's where I'm going to probably try and make my money by attacking the Sky Cash tables and the occasional tournament. So there's my loose plans for the next 6 months going forward. Hopefully they come to fruition, and if they don't, they don't. But what I do hope is I hope you've enjoyed the video. Hope you've enjoyed the slow roll, because I certainly fucking did. And I hope that the flatulence hasn't upset you too much. So, yeah, let's leave it there. It's been a nice video, I think. Take care, everybody. Have a great week, and we'll chat to you who knows when. Bye-bye for now.